The US government and 48 attorney generals filed one big antitrust lawsuit against Facebook yesterday. The goal is to break up the social networking company. Why they want to do that? Because Facebook engaged in illegal anti-competitive efforts as it used its size to buy, bully, and neutralize its rivals.
Let's get to Elon Moy now with more background on these antitrust lawsuits. Elon, sounds like it was worse for Facebook than it was expected to be.
Well, Sarah, there are two lawsuits being filed against Facebook. They are coordinated, but they will be separate. But they both essentially accuse Facebook of the same thing, and that is of buying up its smaller rivals rather than competing with them and cutting off access to third-party developers that they view as a threat. Now, as a result, the states say that consumers get locked into the platform, and then the company is able to milk their data.
We will not allow any company to think that they are too big to fail. And that is why 46 attorney generals across this nation have filed this action. And we will continue to take action against any company that engages in these predatory actions.
Mark Zuckerberg has one big mouth. He really does. And there is one email that this man had sent, which should actually be the nuclear code for the attorney generals in their case against Facebook. Sometime in February 2012, CEO Mark Zuckerberg sent an email to his then CFO David Ebersman. Zuckerberg tells his CFO about Instagram and Path in 2012. These businesses are nascent, but the networks established. The brands are already meaningful, and if they grow to a large scale, they could be very disruptive to us. Given that we think our own valuation is fairly aggressive and that we are vulnerable in mobile, I am curious if we should consider going after one or two of them. What do you think? So in his own email, Mr. Zuckerberg has made it clear that if Instagram grows, it could be disruptive to Facebook and it's worth considering a buyout. So Facebook can stay in control of the industry. Not just Instagram, Facebook also feared the rise of WhatsApp before it decided to buy the company. A 2019 report from Wall Street Journal noted, in a trove of internal Facebook documents published Wednesday, including email chains and presentations, Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg and other executives repeatedly called messaging apps, including WhatsApp, a threat to Facebook. So by Facebook's own admission, the company saw Instagram and WhatsApp as a threat that could potentially harm Facebook. So instead of competing with them, Facebook used its position of power, its cash, to buy them both. This is exactly the type of anti-competitive acquisition the laws were designed to prevent. So here is Nilay Patel, editor-in-chief of Verge, breaking it further for us.
Zuckerberg was telling his lieutenants, telling his CFO, the thing about competitors is we can always buy them. And he correctly identified that what enables a competitor of Facebook is not direct competition. It's a new user experience. So for Instagram, that was photo sharing. For TikTok, which you talked about, that's obviously vertical short videos that scroll up. It's that new mechanic that he's always seeking to buy. And I think he was smart to realize that early, that's what his competitors would look like. He was smart to act on it. I think what the government is getting into, and you are looking at 48 states plus the Federal Trade Commission. The Federal Trade Commission is specifically saying it wants to unwind Instagram and WhatsApp. They're saying you might be smart, but you still acted anti-competitively. You still broke the law. You identified a competitor and you aggressively moved to make sure they weren't a threat to you. You aggressively moved to stamp out their growth and to decimate the playing field around the spaces you wanted to be in. There's another level with Facebook where they collect data from their Onago VPN to see what competitors are rising and decide to buy them or stamp them out early. That stuff, you can be very smart, you can be very aggressive. You can also cross the line. And I think the core question for Facebook in both of these lawsuits is showing that they didn't cross the line when the evidence really indicates they knew what they were doing and they moved aggressively in ways that they were potentially fearful that they had crossed the line.
Antitrust laws have over and over proven to be useless to stop a company from what it is doing. These laws have helped stop major acquisitions that would have created monopolies, but they are toothless from stopping the abhorrent behavior of a company that grew into a monopoly. Businesses Especially the large ones always engage in these kind of practices. But over the last 10 years, the length to which these businesses have gone to protect their turf has become exceedingly toxic. Facebook is not the only company that has engaged in killing the competition tactic, but it certainly is a great choice to start pushing back against businesses from predatory practices. The Federal Trade Commission has so far declined to prosecute Facebook in part because the antitrust regulation since the 1960s has always been based on the idea of consumer harm. And the age old way of measuring consumer harm has always been to see how the price increase has impact. So price increases are relevant when you are thinking about a pharmaceutical company, but makes no sense for measuring the impact of technology companies. To this day, Facebook hardly makes any money on Instagram and WhatsApp in terms of advertising dollars. But how much is the data, the consumer data that Instagram and WhatsApp is providing is worth to Facebook? How much that data has helped Facebook find new trends, new competitors, and kill them off before they got big? Antitrust lawsuits at this scale is not easy to do. In 2001, the Clinton administration filed an antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft due to certain practices that leveraged Microsoft's dominant position in the software industry at the expense of smaller players. But after winning the suit, for whatever reason, the US Department of Justice dropped the case and accepted a settlement. So please don't get your hopes up thinking that Facebook will be split into three parts. The odds are quite high for a settlement. But what kind of settlement will that be is the big question. If Facebook is not broken up, and we are going to have a settlement, let the reach of the settlement be so wide and strong that it sends a message to all the big tech companies that using their dominant position will carry a heavy cost. If the government can send that message, it will be amazing. For now, we are all just bystanders watching this story develop, and it's way too early to even call this a great big first step. It's just a step in the right direction, and that's all. A small step. Thanks for watching. If you like, please subscribe.